It's the Extremist movie debate. And tonight we're talking 2018's The Post.
You can say your name this time.
I'm Aaron.
I'm Ethan, and one of us is going to love it, one of us is going to hate it.
Joe's still fired.
I hate it.
Aaron loves it. Hey guys, don't write newspaper stuff about them. I didn't see this movie. Spoilers are ahead. This movie currently holds an 88% on Rotten Tomatoes and is certified fresh. Ethan, since you hate the movie, right?
Yeah,
yep,
sure
that's
do.
where we're at.
Yep.
All right, cool. This question comes to you. This comes from, Carrie Darling of the Houston Chronicle. Carrie says, while physical newspapers may not be as much a part of American life as they used to be, but the occasional films about their publication, Zodiac, State of Play, and Spotlight continue to enthrall. Now, the Post can be added to the list. So those are all about very specific targeted things, like the Zodiac Killer, aka Ted Cruz. Spotlight is about the whole Catholic Church fiasco that is still unfortunately happening today. What specifically about the Post do you think stands out that could be of any sort of relevance in modern times? You have 1 minute.
Look, it's about the Washington Post decision to publish the Pentagon Papers, which was a thing that happened, and it was a specific moment in history, so I get why it stands among those movies, and I get why they feel like they should talk about it now, because it's, talking about the integrity of journalism. However, this movie brings absolutely nothing to the table. You go into it expecting exactly what you're going to get out of it. You expect this to be a movie about a bunch of journalists deciding should they or shouldn't they, and eventually they do. And it's mostly not because it's circumstances beyond their control or circumstances that are out in the world actually force them to do so. It's just that they just kind of nag each other enough and beat each other down enough to get to the point where they say, yeah, we should do this. Meryl Streep is a standout character in this movie, where she is the owner of the paper and she name drops the hell out of everybody. Instead of JFK, it's Jack. Instead of Lyndon B. Johnson, it's my friend Lyndon. Cool, great, we get it. They're all super elites, and so we're supposed to be in touch with these people and feel like, oh, this is moral integrity that I can also relate to myself in my life. But you can't, because you don't know these politicians like they do. So you go into this movie, and eventually it's Meryl Streep saying, I don't want to do that because my friend is that guy. And then eventually she says,
simmer down, Ethan. You're getting a little too wily for my liking. Aaron, you have 30 seconds to respond.
Yeah, I think that's all BS. I'm just straight up every word of that's garbage. It's totally relatable to what we're going through right now, with challenges to the media coming from politicians, and that stress and that tension between the two sides. It was groundbreaking at the time, because the newspaper industry and the media as a whole had never been put through that. So it's extremely relatable to our current situation, notwithstanding your hatred of Meryl Streep's name dropping.
All right, Ethan, you have 15 seconds to respond.
I mean, I'm not saying that as far as the media is a little bit under attack right now. I guess you can say that. But as far as how does it relate to my life, what do I take away from it? I'm not personally attacking the media, so I don't feel like there's anything that I'm going to get out of this except that the media are a bunch of out-of-touch elites.
Aaron, you have a final 15 to respond.
I think that if you don't engage in that, then we are ultimately who is going to suffer. You may not be able to personally relate to attacking the media or being attacked or being in the media, but the media is attacked because of the messages you get.
All right, thank you, Aaron, also for being so civil. This next question comes to you. This is from a fan favorite of the show, Armand White, which I feel like at this point we need a bell or a buzzer or Yeah, we need just to do that anytime we say his name, because it's going to be gold. This comes from Armand White of the National Review. Oh boy. Armand says, stop watching the news is the savvy advice Morrissey sings on his politically oriented, recently released album. He then explains, because the news contrives to frighten you, to make you feel small and alone, to make you feel that your mind is not your own. Oh, this Morrissey album sounds like it's terrible.
Morrissey is terrible.
Yeah, the Smiths are definitely better, but that's not debatable. And then Armand goes on to say, Morrissey's complaint cuts to the truth about modern journalism, as Spielberg does not, by exposing how what we consider news has become the illusory practice of a left-centered, conspiratorial institution that operates to manipulate a susceptible public. So, swimming through all that bullshit, Armand White just
That was a lot of
said,
bullshit.
False.
yeah, he's saying the news is now so left-centered that that's the only thing we get. It strikes fear into everybody's hearts. Yet we have a myriad different publications from different points of view. How do you think this movie does of skewing one point of view compared to the other, left or right? You have 1 minute.
Yeah, well, I actually think that it doesn't skew at all in that direction, and I think that is one of the more interesting things about looking at the media. The movie looks at newspapers and media right before news started being really profitable, and at that time it was like a flagship glamorous thing to just have a well-respected media, a well-respected news, even if it lost money. And so the idea of journalistic integrity was a lot stronger than it is now. So I don't think there was really any political agenda through the story that was being told.
All right, awesome. Ethan, you have 30 seconds to respond.
There isn't sort of any journalistic integrity in this movie, all right? Most of this movie is spent after them, like, trying to figure out how to cover a wedding that of Nixon's daughter that everybody else is trying to cover. Like, cool, great, the world really needs to know that. Another chunk of this movie is spent sending an intern down to run down the street to spy on what the other team is cooking up on their front page. And so we're talking about left-leaning is what this movie is. It tries to come across as Tom Hanks has an axe to grind in this movie. One of the first scenes, he calls the president, I believe, a cock or something like that. Everybody in the room kind of looks at each other and pauses for a moment.
Ethan, I'm sorry I have to cut you off there, and I believe you called him a cuck. Aaron, you have 15 seconds to respond.
Yeah, no, the journalistic integrity that's taking place is on a much broader and macroscopic level than that. It is the idea that an attack on a journalistic institution is an attack on journalism and ultimately an attack on America. It's not about...
All right, thanks, Aaron. Wow, you were so easy to cut off. It's amazing. I'm glad Joe got fired. Ethan, you have a final 15?
Yeah, that's great to say, except to say that Nixon isn't wrong. They do have an axe to grind on him in this movie, and Tom Hanks proves that in one of the first scenes of this movie, is that he does not like this guy, and he is going after him. So if he has a chance to go after him, he's going to do it. He can put on this nice guy facade of, I'm doing this because of journalistic
Thanks,
integrity.
Ethan.
We know better.
You guys have a, not a final 4 minutes. You guys do
True.
4 minutes till the end of the episode, guys. Let's count it down. You have 4 minutes to discuss and go.
Tom Hanks' nice guy routine is not fooling anybody. We all know that he was actually after Nixon. He wanted to bring him down, and it's because he disagreed with him, his policies, the Vietnam War. Like, you can argue maybe that he's correct in that, but still, a person should not be the head of a newspaper, should not be the head of a media influence if they are actually trying to lean a certain direction. You can say the same about the Washington Post, you can say the same about Fox News. So if we're talking about journalistic integrity in this movie, it's not applicable. So what is applicable is that we have a bunch of people schmoozing with their all white-collar elites, and we have absolutely nothing to grasp at as far as a common audience.
Okay, well.
Yeah, we're still going.
Yeah.
What do you got?
Okay.
Aaron? Yeah.
All right. Yeah. And I think I actually think that we do have, like, it's a unique perspective that we get to be in because we're an audience in both situations. We're an audience now to that going on, and we're an audience to it then. We are seeing the top people schmoozing with, and that's only continued and gotten worse to the point now where the media is almost a branch of the White House and is so cooperative, desperate to get access that they will not publish some things and publish others. And so, like, to me, I felt like that really resonated as an audience.
I think it's important as a movie to not actually have to watch this movie in the context of other things happening in the world, but to actually just watch the movie on its own as a document. Like, in 5 years, 10 years, is anybody going to give a shit about this movie? No, they're going to go back to All the President's Men because it's a better movie. They're going to go back to Spotlight because Spotlight has the guts to actually have its other narrative going throughout it, where you think like, oh no, somebody's giving them lies, somebody's feeding them something terrible, there's something's wrong and something's afoot at the Spotlight team. And in fact, it's just that, oh no, everybody was just too stupid and full of themselves to pay attention to the story that was going on, and in fact they are complicit because they were so naive about it. And so that is Spotlight turning it back onto the audience, and then all of a sudden the audience is brought into the movie and we realize that, oh no, we are also complicit because we are not speaking up about these things that are very clearly in front of us, whereas this movie is just, we wanted to bring down Nixon, so we did it by just pestering Meryl Streep enough.
No, I think I disagree. I think there's a lot of elements of should we publish this, and not just from a punitive standpoint, point, but there is a lot of grappling with what is actually in the public interest, and whether or not it's actually a good thing to do that just because you can, should you? And I think there is a lot of grappling with that, and I thought that was really well handled.
I don't think it was any grappling of can I, should I. It was just I don't want to go to jail. I think that's why we see Bob Odenkirk spend way too much money in quarters going around to different payphones, being all secretive about it. If they weren't guilty of anything, he wouldn't have to do that. He would be able to use his work telephone like a good, warm-blooded American.
Anything else, guys? All right.
No.
Oops. I just banter for a second. All right. So I pressed buttons on my phone and it went all over the place. I went to my bedtime app. So
You have a bedtime app?
yeah, it lets me know when I need to go to bed and when I need to wake up.
Wakes you up gently.
Yeah, it's very nice. But that's neither here nor there.
Batteries suck.
Two things.
Yeah, it is.
You guys are much more civil than Joe and Ethan are. Stop looking at me. And second off,
Because we love each other.
Aw, love you, man.
I know as a show,
I love Joe too.
I know we gave a lot of hacks to Armand White, and sometimes it's deserved, sometimes it's just us, being witty. But
He's a career troll.
after
Yeah.
After the second paragraph I read, his paragraph starts with, "This is about journalists during the Nixon era trying to get involved in, the exposure of what's going on, claiming Me Too." Fuck you. That's
Yeah, I can see how that would be hard to
if
read.
you're using the Me Too movement as like a point as to why journalism is terrible, go fuck yourself.
Sideways, yeah.
How do you guys really feel?
It's a great movie. It's well done. It's well acted, but it doesn't bring anything new to the table.
Agreed. It's so classically post Schindler's List Spielberg that it's fine and it's good and it's competent, but it's not. It's safe. It's very Academy Award winner friendly. Like it's just that kind of movie, and that's just what he's been making for 20 years. So
I mean what I said when I said Spotlight had the guts to have this other narrative.
Yeah.
Billy Crudup comes out in the third act and says, "I gave this story to you. I'm not a shady lawyer. I gave it to you, and you ignored it," and that brings it on the audience. This movie has no moment of that at all.
And Megan loved it a lot more than I did for like feminist reasons, but which again actually kind of bothered me because I felt like Spielberg did it in a very safe way, and so there wasn't an edginess to that I felt like he passed that up.
Not a fan of that wording.
What?
Safe or feminist?
No. It was the Megan loved it because it's a feminist movie, but that's why it kind of bothered me. And then,
What bothered me was that they didn't do enough with that.
you Armand Whited yourself.
They struggle with they have the whole Meryl Streep thing, like trying to be in like a man's world, but it's done in such a Hollywood way that it just rubbed me the wrong way. The way that it was handled.
As men are talking politics, ladies. Let's leave the table.
Yeah,
go to the other room. Like we get what you're doing.
Yeah,
now do something with it.
Exactly.
But they don't.
And
they
they just kind of whack you over the head with it and then move on. Like it just wasn't very well handled.
Which is maybe just speaking to like this movie was farted out so quickly. I say farted out. This was a fantastically well done movie, but it was done so quickly to be relevant to the times and make it out before Oscars. Like it's no joke. We know this.
Sure.
So I think that a couple more passes might have served it well, but it's still a fantastically well made movie. It's just not going to resonate.
But I actually do completely agree with you about that. In 5 years, nobody's going to give a shit about this movie.
All right. Well,
sorry.
It's true.
It's good. You should watch it.
Yeah,
and you never will again.
Yeah, right. I'm not buying that when it comes out.
No.
I'll watch it in 5 years when no one gives a shit, so I can bring it up in conversation.
Dude, you guys watch The Post?
Hey, have you seen this movie called The Pose?
What would you guys rate the movie?
Out of 10.
7?
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
No, probably no thunder since you're not.
Like like a distant. Oh, was that thunder? Like kind of like you think you heard it, but not necessarily. Like that's
Yeah, about a 7, and absolutely no thunder.
Yeah.
I would much rather watch Spotlight. I've seen Spotlight like 5 times, and
you're making me want to rewatch Spotlight now. Actually,
what this movie wants to be, and it's not.
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to watch this movie, but I did watch Fun Mom's Dinner, and I give that a 4 lightning strike, no thunder.
All right.
Where can we find
Thanks,
us?
guys. You can also write us an email, extremist seriousmoviedebate@gmail.com. You can like and subscribe to this channel, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever. And that's that. Thanks for watching.
emd.panspending.com, artificialwoods.panspending.com. Thank you, Panspending. Justin Hines of Summer in Siberia for the intro outro music. Mitch Davis for the cool graphics. Yeah, okay. Bye. Okay,